quaint sleepy village situated between dense forests, there lived a young boy named Azizi. He was the only child of his parents. He was a 12 unassuming lad that always seemed lost in thought. Azizi had a secret, one that he had kept hidden from everyone, including his family, but they eventually observed it in him. He could hear people's thoughts. It all began when he was 10. Azizi had been walking home from school along the dusty path when he first heard the whispers. At first, he thought it was the wind or perhaps some trick of his mind. But as the voices grew louder and clearer, he realized they were not random noises. They were the thoughts of people around him. He was sitting at the village square one evening when he heard a thought so vile it made him shiver. "I'll poison her tonight. She doesn't deserve to live." Azizi turned sharply, his eyes landing on a middle-aged woman passing by, named Binti. She was known in the village for her kindness, and she was always seen tending to her garden or helping her neighbors. But the thought he had just heard was unmistakably hers, filled with a dark, malicious intent. Binti's stepdaughter, Lakeisha, was a sweet girl of 10. Azizi couldn't believe what he had just heard. He had to act quickly. He followed Binti discreetly, keeping his distance while listening to her thoughts. They were filled with anger and jealousy, a toxic mix that fueled her desire to harm Lakeisha. That evening, Azizi positioned himself near Binti's house. He saw her through the window, preparing dinner, and heard her thoughts as clearly as if she were speaking aloud. "Just a few drops in her soup. It will be over quickly. Your father has been choosing you over me. He does not give me full attention. So why did he remarry when he knew he does not need a wife? You need to join your mother where she is. All is over tonight. Tonight, no more delay." Azizi's heart raced. He couldn't let this happen. He ran to the front door and knocked urgently. Binti opened it, her face a mask of surprise. "Azizi, what are you doing here?" I need to talk to you," he stammered, his mind racing for a plausible excuse. "It's about the food." "Food?" Binti shockingly asked. "Yes, if you give it to Lakeisha, you will die on her behalf." Azizi lied in order to stop her. Binti's face was overwhelmed with shock and fear. She thought, how did he know the food was poisoned? How did he know it was for Lakeisha? She keeps staring at Azizi, lost for words. Azizi broke the silence and said sharply, "I have just come to tell you not to kill yourself. Whatever you do to harm Lakeisha will always be reversed. Good night, Ma." Azizi said, and he left. He did not wait for any response because he couldn't believe he had just said that. Did I just saved a life? "Oh, Azizi." Binti went into the kitchen and poured the food away. Her thoughts were a mixture of confusion and relief. So I would have killed myself because of this girl? What should I do now? It's high time I began to like her. As Azizi left, he could still hear Binti's thoughts, now filled with fear about her intentions. Azizi knew he had saved Lakeisha's life, and Binti would not plan to hurt Lakeisha again. He made a vow to keep an eye on her and to do everything he could to help them be at peace. Sometimes, Azizi got overwhelmed with numerous thoughts of people passing by or seated close to him. It was getting out of hand, and he almost lost himself whenever the thoughts were too much. Some people in the village see him as a guardian, while some of the wicked elders and leaders in the village who have wicked intentions hate him for who he is. They laughed at him and called him all sorts of names: the crazy one of his family, the possessed boy, and the demon of our time. They point at his father whenever he walks in the village and call him Father of the Demon. Some of these wicked leaders will even tell him to take the boy to the deep forest where his mates reside. This name-calling was too much to bear for Azizi and his family. Aziz's ability to hear thoughts was a double-edged sword, bringing both insights and heartache. The hardest part was hearing his own father's thoughts, filled with frustration and despair. His father, Faraji, was a proud man who was highly respected, but Aziz's gift had brought a stigma to their family which made some villagers see him as a mere man. One evening, Aziz's parents were relaxing under a tree in their compound. Aziz sat by the fire close to them. He heard his father's thoughts, clearer and more painful than ever. "I can't do this anymore. I have to leave. The stigma brought to my family because of this strange gift has gotten to its peak. I'm losing my good reputation. Perhaps if I leave, I will regain my reputation." Aziz's heart sank. He couldn't bear the thought of his father leaving them and his family being torn apart because of his gift. He waited until his father was alone, then approached him, his voice trembling. "Dad, please don't go." Faraji looked up, startled. "What are you talking about, Azizi?" "I heard you," Azizi admitted. "I know you're thinking about leaving, but we need you. I need you." Faraji's face softened, but his thoughts remained troubled. "Azizi, it's not your fault. But this gift of yours, it's too much for people to handle. They're afraid of you, and it's tearing us apart." "I can control it," Azizi said desperately. "Please give me a chance to prove it." Faraji sighed, his thoughts a swirl of doubt and love. "I don't know, son. I just don't know." Azizi reached out and took his father's hand. "I promise I'll make things better. Just don't leave us." Faraji looked at Azizi for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "All right, Azizi. I'll stay. But you have to be careful. This gift of yours, it's powerful, and power can be dangerous." Azizi nodded, relief flooding his heart. "I understand, Dad. Thank you." Azizi learned to control this strange ability over time, but it was not easy. The cacophony of voices in his head was overwhelming, and he struggled to distinguish one thought from another. He often wore a knitted cap, pulling it low over his ears in a futile attempt to muffle the constant chatter. Despite the chaos in his mind, Azizi found solace in the forest near his home. The trees stood tall and silent, their thoughts serene and ancient, providing a stark contrast to the tumultuous human thoughts he heard every day. The forest became his refuge, a place where he could escape the endless barrage of voices and find some semblance of peace. One evening, Azizi ventured deeper into the forest than ever before. He had heard rumors of an old, abandoned cabin hidden somewhere within the woods, and his curiosity got the better of him. As he walked, he strained to hear any signs of life, but the only thoughts that reached him were those of the woodland creatures. After few hours of searching, Azizi stumbled upon the cabin. It was dilapidated, with ivy creeping up its walls and a sagging roof that threatened to collapse at any moment. But there was something about the cabin that drew him in, a feeling that he couldn't quite explain. As he stepped inside, Azizi was met with an eerie silence. The air was thick with dust, and cobwebs clung to every surface. He wandered through the small rooms, his footsteps echoing in the emptiness. Then he heard it, a single clear thought. "Who are you?" Azizi froze, his heart pounding in his chest. The voice was not his own, and it wasn't coming from outside the cabin. It was inside his head, but it was different from the thoughts he usually heard. It was directed at him. "Who are you?" The voice repeated, more insistent this time. "I'm Azizi," he replied aloud, feeling foolish for talking to an empty room. "Why are you here?" the voice asked. I don't know," Azizi admitted. "I was curious." The voice was silent for a moment, And then it spoke again, softer this time. You have a gift, Azizi. A rare and powerful gift. Who are you? Azizi asked, his fear giving way to curiosity. I am Afram, the voice said. I was like you once, a long time ago. I could hear people's thoughts too. Azizi felt a shiver run down his spine. What happened to you? Afram's voice was tinged with sadness. I let the voices consume me. I became lost in them, unable to distinguish my thoughts from those of others. I came to this cabin to escape, but it was too late. Is there a way to control it? Azizi asked desperately. To make the voices stop? There is, Afram replied. But it is not easy. You must learn to focus, filter the thoughts, and find your voice among them. Takes time and practice. Azizi nodded, determination filling his heart. I can do it, he said firmly. I have to. For the next few weeks, Azizi spent every spare moment in the forest, practicing what Afram had taught him. He learned to meditate, clear his mind, and focus on a single thought at a time. Slowly but surely, he began to regain control over his ability. One day, as Azizi sat in the cabin, deep in meditation, he felt a strange sensation. It was as if the air around him had grown thick and heavy. He opened his eyes and saw a figure standing beside him. It was a man, tall and gaunt, with piercing cloudy eyes that seemed to see right through him. Who are you? Azizi asked, his voice trembling. I am Keto, the man said. I have been searching for you, Azizi. Why? Azizi demanded. What do you want from me? You have a gift, Keto said, his voice smooth and calm. A gift that can be used for great things. I can help you master it. Azizi felt a flicker of hope. You can teach me? Yes, Keto said. But you must trust me. Azizi hesitated. There was something about Keto that made him uneasy, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Why should I trust you? He asked. Keto's smile was cold and mysterious. Because if you don't, the voices will consume you, just like they did to Afram. Azizi's blood ran cold. How did Keto know about Afram? Before he could ask, Keto reached out and placed a hand on Azizi's shoulder. A surge of energy coursed through him, and the voices in his head grew louder, more insistent. You see, Keto said, without my help you will be lost. Azizi pulled away, his mind reeling. No, he said firmly, I can do this on my own. Keto's expression darkened. Very well, he said. But remember this, Azizi. Your gift is a double-edged sword. It can be a source of great power or great destruction. Choose wisely. With that, Keto turned and vanished into the forest, leaving Azizi alone in the cabin. At that moment, Azizi was filled with fear. Certainly, this is the man who consumed Afram in this cabin. Did he want to trick me as well? Azizi thought as he was leaving the cabin. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Azizi continued to hone his ability. He learned to filter the thoughts, focus on his mind, and block out the noise. But Keto's warning lingered in the back of his mind. He knew that his gift could be dangerous, and he vowed to use it wisely. And though he never saw Keto again, he often felt the man's presence, watching from the shadows. Years passed, and Azizi grew into a young man. He left the village and traveled the world, using his ability to help those in need. He became a healer, a guide, and a protector. And though the voices never completely disappeared, he had learned to live with them, to find strength in his gift rather than fear. His parents always feel blessed to have him as their only child, and his father is especially proud of him now more than before. Azizi once in a while visits his village to heal, guide, and guard those who need it. The villagers who hated him now want him around them because his presence in the village was always accompanied by a peaceful atmosphere. One day, as Azizi sat by a campfire in his compound, he heard a familiar voice in his mind. The voice filled the air like a smoke. "You have done well, Azizi." It was Afram. Azizi smiled, his heart filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said silently. "And remember," Afram's voice continued, "your journey is far from over. There are still many who need your help." Azizi nodded, determination filling his heart. He knew that his gift was both a blessing and a curse, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For he was Azizi, the boy who could hear people's thoughts, and he would use his gift to make the world a better place.
Moral lessons. 1. Using one's gifts for good. Despite the challenges and potential dangers of his ability, Azizi chooses to use his gift to help others. This teaches the importance of using one's talents and abilities for the benefit of others and positive purposes. 2. Perseverance in adversity. Azizi faces numerous obstacles, including the overwhelming noise of others' thoughts, societal stigma, and even personal threats. His perseverance and determination to control his gift and use it wisely highlight the value of resilience and persistence in the face of difficulties. 3. The power of compassion and understanding. Azizi's ability to hear thoughts allows him to understand people's hidden struggles and pains. His actions demonstrate the importance of empathy, compassion, and the willingness to help others, even when it's challenging. 4. The impact of support and trust. Azizi's relationship with his father and the help he receives from Afram and others along the way emphasize the significance of having supportive relationships. Trust and support from loved ones can provide strength and encouragement to overcome personal challenges and fears.
Hello, wonderful viewers. Thanks for watching. Kindly use the comment section below and let me know your thoughts about the story. Also, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our amazing stories. Until next time, bye.